Hey everyone, welcome back to Truthfully Free. Today, we're diving into a dialogue that has shaped centuries of spiritual and philosophical inquiry. A great debate, self versus no self. Is there a permanent I inside you? Or is that I an illusion, a story our minds tell? Stick around. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear map of the core teachings, practical takeaways, and a few questions to test for yourself. This debate threads through traditions, from Advaita Vedanta and Buddhism to modern psychology. But before we step into the heavy stuff, let's get our terms straight. When we say self, we usually mean an enduring center of experience, the I that persists through time, the doer, the inner witness that says, I am. No self or anatta, as taught in early Buddhism, is the opposite claim. There is no unchanging, independent self. Instead, what we call I is a constantly changing stream of experiences, perceptions, and conditioning. Okay, so we have two positions, but this isn't just an abstract argument. It matters. How you answer affects how you relate to suffering, to other people, and to the choices you make. Let's start with the case for the self. Many philosophical traditions, and our everyday intuition, endorse a stable self. Here are three main reasons people defend the self. Continuity of memory and identity. I remember my childhood, my friends, my mistakes. That continuity seems to point to a persisting core. Moral responsibility. We hold people accountable over time. Subjective experience. The felt immediacy of I-ness seems undeniable. Think of a person you've known for years. Even as tastes change and the body ages, there's a sense they remain the same person. Or imagine a courtroom. Judgments rest on the assumption of an enduring agent. Some spiritual traditions distinguish ego from true self. In Advaita Vedanta, the deepest self, Atman, is identical to ultimate reality, Brahman. The true self isn't the small ego, but the universal ground. Now the case for no self. Buddhism teaches anatta. Modern cognitive science provides supportive observations. Empirical change. Bodies and minds constantly shift. There's no fixed part to point at. Psychological fragmentation shows the self can split. Neuroscience finds no single self module. Unity of experience emerges from processes. Buddhists say clinging to a permanent self causes suffering because we try to protect something that is not solid. Seeing the self as a process loosens attachment to identity, loss, and aging. So which side is right? Let's look deeper. A helpful bridge is the two truths idea, conventional and ultimate truth. Conventionally, we operate as if there is a self. Language, law, relationships depend on that. Ultimately, close analysis shows no enduring self. Experience dissolves into sensations, thoughts, and perceptions. Both descriptions are useful, depending on the level. Think of a movie. Characters seem continuous, but the film is just pixels changing frame by frame. Both views help, each at its level. Why does this matter? Here are practical consequences, and a middle way. A belief in a permanent self offers continuity, responsibility, and meaning, but can increase clinging. Embracing no self can reduce attachment and fear, but if taken only conceptually, may cause disorientation. The middle path is experiential practice. Don't just think it, see it. Practices like mindfulness and self-inquiry reveal the fluidity of experience while keeping ethical engagement. Try this mini practice. Notice the thought, I am anxious. Ask, where is that I? Look for a solid center. Usually you find breath, posture, or tone, not a fixed core. Repeat daily and the I softens. Neuroscience and psychology sometimes echo ancient insights. The brain's default mode network lights up when the self tells stories about itself, suggesting the sense of self is generated, not found. Psychotherapies teach that observing thoughts reduces their control. Echoes of no self. Science maps mechanisms. Spirituality explores transformation. Together, they guide less suffering and more compassion. Quick tour. The Buddha taught anatta for liberation. Advaita teachers like Shankara taught an eternal Atman. Modern thinkers such as Daniel Dennett describe the self as an emergent narrative. Teachers like Ramana Maharshi invite direct inquiry. Who am I? A few traps. No self isn't a license for irresponsibility. Insight should increase compassion and accountability, not emotional bypassing. Likewise, belief in an eternal self can be misused to justify rigidity or superiority. Also, transient feelings of selflessness during intense emotion or substances aren't the same as integrated insight. Real realization is stable and transforms behavior. Let me give you a quick story to illustrate why this matters. Imagine Maya, a teacher who loses her job. If Maya believes in a fixed self defined by career and status, the job loss feels like a personal annihilation. Her identity collapses, and she spirals into shame. If Maya practices the insight that identity is a collection of roles and habits, she might still grieve, but she's less likely to be devastated. She can mourn the loss, reskill, and reconnect with values that outlast any single role. Another useful lens is language. Notice how words like I, me, and mine shape our sense of ownership over experiences. Try a small experiment during a conversation. Remove I statements mentally and describe experiences as happening rather than mine. It sounds subtle, but it can shift reactivity and defensiveness. Many seekers report a sequence in their exploration. First comes intellectual curiosity, reading and debating. Then practices like meditation bring glimpses of no self. Finally, when insight integrates, life choices change. Relationships soften, priorities shift, and ethical impulses often grow stronger. For those who worry about nihilism, realize that meaning doesn't vanish if the self is seen as process. Freedom from a rigid identity can actually increase genuine meaning because choices arise from values and connection, not ego boosts. A few practical pointers. 1. Keep a short daily practice. 5 to 20 minutes of self-inquiry or mindful noticing. 2. Journal what you notice about I moments, where they anchor, what stories accompany them. 3. Discuss with a community or teacher. Dialog helps clarify confusions. 4. Continue ethical practice, compassion, honesty, and service. These ground insight in life. Finally, remember patience. Insights into self and no self often unfold gradually. Don't chase dramatic experiences. Instead, cultivate steady curiosity and kinder attention toward your moment-to-moment life. If you'd like more, check the description for a guided 5-minute inquiry, a mindfulness starter, and a short reading list. Okay, over to you. Share your experiences below. Have you felt your sense of self shift? Did a practice or life event change your view? Let's make this a conversation. We all come from different paths. Thanks for joining me on Truthfully Free. If this helped, consider supporting the channel. Until next time, stay curious. Thanks for watching Truthfully Free. Keep questioning kindly. Maps are useful, but don't mistake them for the territory. See you next time.